Just want to say good evening. Welcome everyone to White Plains High School. This is our 7th annual induction event for the White Plains High School Athletics Hall of Fame. My name is Chuck Skogel. I'll be your MC for a portion of the evening. I'm a graduate of White Plains High School, class of 1964, and the current president of our Sports Hall of Fame. Before I continue, we'd like to ask everyone to please rise as we honor America with the singing of our national anthem. And tonight, the Star Spangled Banner will be sung by White Plains High School senior Liam Keene. Liam?
All right, nice. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rough stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er what ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free, home of the brave.
Thank you, Liam, and thank you, everyone. Now, if you take a look at page 2 in your printed program, you'll see a list of our committee members for the Sports Hall of Fame. This is a select group of dedicated and hardworking volunteers, representing a diversity of backgrounds and job titles. Without too much fanfare, let me just give a shout out to the committee, most of which is here, which comprises our Vice President, John Donahoe, Recording Secretary and 2019 honoree, Nick Benaro, our Treasurer, 2018 inductee, Sue Adams, 2 more 2019 honorees, George Perry and Dan Woodard, plus Paul Alley, Don Gano, Patty Gilmartin, 2022 inductee, Fred Singleton, Athletic Director, Matt Cameron, and our high school principal, Emily Martinez. Just to mention, John Donahoe had a bad reaction to some medication today. He's not with us. We also want to send our thoughts and prayers out tonight to 2 of our committee members, Dan Woodard and Sue Adams, who are both dealing with health issues and cannot be with us this evening. We definitely send our prayers. At this time, would you just help me give a big round of applause for our executive committee? Now I'd like to introduce 2 speakers who have been with us for quite a while as we've had these ceremonies, and will be leaving soon for some other business. So they are here this evening. We'd like to welcome and congratulate them and have them just address us on this special occasion. First, please welcome the White Plains Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Joseph Rippon.
It is so great to be back together. Just to be in the same room with so many people. I'm saying Nick shake his head. Just to be in the same room together is fantastic. This is a really important, special night for us. So to all the honorees, congratulations. It's phenomenal to be inducted. Well, first of all, it's phenomenal, I'm told, to be a graduate of White Plains High School. Secretly, I try to pass off as one once in a while. But truly an amazing thing to be part of the Athletic Hall of Fame. To be a student athlete in White Plains and to be part of this community, either on the field or the pool or the court, is a real special thing. And it's something that I think is carried for your entire life. The committee works so hard to identify student athletes who not only had extreme athletic prowess, but also are just really great people. And we have a lot of really great people in White. So on behalf of the Board of Education, all of the educational community kids who are here and are still eating cake, congratulations to all of you. Celebrate this evening. Celebrate the memories that were made while you were student athletes here at White Plains. But most importantly, celebrate the fact that your spirit, your memory lives on. And the student athletes of today look up to you. They recognize the importance of putting your best foot forward when you're from White Plains. So again, congratulations, and stay WP proud.
Just like us to give one shout out and applause and a hello to one other member of the board who is here, very important, prominent member who will be leaving for the Board of Education meeting in just a little while, but she is with us to say hello and start the proceedings. Would you say hello to the President of White Plains Board of Education, Rosemary Ellen? And now here with us, and he just walked in a little while ago with his proclamations, the Mayor of White Plains, the Honorable Tom Roach.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with all of you. What a great group going into the Hall of Fame, and thank you for all your efforts on behalf of the school and what you've done with your lives afterward. I have with me here tonight proclamations, which in order, in the interest of keeping the event moving forward, I won't present individually, but every person entering is going to have a day in the city of White Plains. So everyone gets their own day. One of the things I do when I came here, if there's multiple proclamations, you gotta have multiple days. You get your own day, but there's no free parking, don't get excited. This is White Plains. It can change everything. I don't want to, I read everyone's bios and I know a few of you from having known you for different things. And I don't want to single anyone out. But one coached both my sons, so Coach Singh coached both my sons, and really a special person who does everything really great, does everything well, except retiring. He's really bad at retiring. He's the worst person I've ever met at retiring. I feel like he retired a while ago, and I see him here coaching and doing all the same stuff all the time. But yeah, and to our benefit, for sure. He is just a fantastic person, but all the honorees are wonderful with that Tiger spirit. I didn't graduate from White Plains High School, but my mom did in 1959 over at the Highlands, so long connection to my family here. And I wish you all well, and I hope you have a great evening. Congratulations on the well-deserved honors.
And now here to personally welcome you to White Plains High School, our principal, Emily Martinez.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. You know, it's just so great being in a space where everybody's here to support each other. You know, that's one thing that I learned a few years ago as soon as I got here, is that we come out for each other here in White Plains. And certainly I've always said that it's a special place. You know, I was told it was a special place when I got here, and over the years it has definitely been keeping up to those words. Hearing some of the stories already about some of our amazing inductees, it's really just telling that our student athletes don't just perform well on you know, whether it's in the courts, in the fields, but just also they're people that give back. They're people that continue to have a connection to our community. Seeing some of the folks that are here to support them, that perhaps haven't seen them in years and years, just speaks to the amazing place that this community is. So again, I want to thank you and welcome you on behalf of our administration and faculty, and congratulations to the committee for the hard work that was done to identify such great and deserving inductees. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
And would you please welcome our athletic director, Matt Cameron.
Thank you, Chuck, and good evening, everybody. I'd like to congratulate this year's White Plains High School Athletics Hall of Fame class. Certainly some really, really impressive resumes and applications when we reviewed these. Fairly new, it's about 8 years. My first year here was the first year of the Hall of Fame. And we had to keep the numbers to a certain amount. We couldn't have 50 people, 60 people in a class. So each year was really, really hard to knock out some of the people that were nominated. But this year, once again, a very extraordinary class. And I want to thank you for paving the way for our current student athletes. This year, just to give you an update, because I know a lot of you haven't been on campus and haven't been back to White Plains in a while, but just to give you a quick update of where White Plains High School athletics is right now, we have 28 varsity teams. We have 77 total teams in the district. That's here in Highlands. We have 96 coaches. In 2021-22 school year, we had 479 student athletes that were New York State Public High School Scholar Athletes, which is something that in addition to the 479 students that met the 90 grade point average and above, we also had 20 of our 28 varsity teams recognized by New York State as Scholar Athlete teams. This past fall, our girls volleyball, girls tennis, and boys soccer team were league champions. Our girls swim team has 4 girls going up to the New York State Championships this weekend. One of our runners, Coach Singleton's runners, qualified for the New York State Championships. And she did so well that she's going to be running this weekend in the Federation meet. So again, congratulations, and Coach Singleton, Coach O'Donnell, these are 2 coaches and men who I've had the privilege to work with, call my friends, certainly 2 guys that I've learned a lot from. When Coach Singh said the meet is this weekend up at Bowdoin Park, he told me about the course and the track, and I said, do you still run it? He said, not a chance. But we can't have guys like that retiring anytime soon. We need guys like that working with our kids and serving as role models. So congratulations to the Hall of Fame class.
Normally on an evening like this, Mr. Ben Boykin, who represents the city of White Plains on the Westchester County Board of Legislators, would also be here with us this evening. But Mr. Boykin has a committee meeting to be attending at this time. However, he also happens to be the father, by the way, of 2015 Hall of Fame inductee, Nicole Boykin. Ben Boykin has provided us with individual proclamations for each honoree tonight on behalf of the County of Westchester, and these will be presented along with the individual plaques that we'll be giving out, plus the proclamations from the city of White Plains. And now, if you would, please pause with me for just a few moments as we take a short time to remember 3 individuals very close to our White Plains athletics community who have passed away in the years since we last held our inductions. Please listen as I just recall a little bit about each one of them. Leanne Santadonato. Leanne was the wife of longtime White Plains High School coach Mark Santadonato, as well as being a teacher herself at George Washington School here in White Plains. Leanne passed away last September at the age of 60. She was a graduate of Harrison High School with a marketing degree from Berkeley College. In addition to her husband, Mark, she left behind 3 children, 2 grandchildren, and many, many, many friends. Frank Louis Lou Manfredi. Lou Manfredi, who passed away last July at the age of 81, was the quintessential White Plains Tigers fan. A 1958 graduate of White Plains High School, Lou grew up and lived just around the corner from Post Road School on Quinby Avenue. Over the past 60-plus years, Lou Manfredi attended just about every Tigers home football game and basketball game. He was a regular at more than 50 years of Louts games. But more than being just a fan, Lou Manfredi counseled and assisted many high school athletes from not only White Plains but elsewhere in helping them pursue further goals going to college. There has been a noticeably vacant seat in the White Plains stands ever since we lost Lou Manfredi. And Manson Donahue. There aren't enough words or time in any given evening to encapsulate all that Manson Donahue was and represented. Former principal of White Plains High School, co-founder of the Louts track and field games, an accomplished athlete himself, a multi-decorated World War II veteran, and certainly an effective and accomplished administrator. Manson, who was inducted into the Athletics Hall of Fame in 2016, passed away last December at the age of 96. But each spring, year after year after year, Manson would make the drive from his home in Pembroke, New Hampshire, to White Plains, just to be with us at the Louts games. And that includes 2019 at the tender age of 94. We may not all realize it, but Manson Donahue left an indelible mark on everybody here tonight. Please join with me now in a moment of silence as we recall Leanne Santadonato, Lou Manfredi, and Manson Donahue. Thank you. Just to let you know, White Plains High School has sponsored sports at 3 different campuses within the city of White Plains for 126 years now, dating back to the fall of 1897. And over that period of time, the school has had more than a few absolutely outstanding athletes. In the years prior to 2014, a committee was working to create and launch an Athletics Hall of Fame at White Plains High School. The goal, of course, was to create a forum where we can recognize and salute our most outstanding student athletes, coaches, administrators, and others who have contributed so significantly to our century plus of Tigers tradition. With the blessing of the White Plains Board of Education and the administration here at the high school, the goal of the Sports Hall of Fame became a reality with our first induction event in November 2015. Tonight, we honor 8 outstanding individuals whose names are linked indelibly with White Plains High School. Very soon over this winter, we will have a large permanent display area within our gym building to honor their legacies forever. Overall, including tonight, we have honored 82 individuals and 1 outstanding relay team from among the thousands and thousands who have been part of the White Plains Tigers family. Now it's time for the induction class of 2022. We have 2 presenters who will carry us through the balance of the induction program. The presenters are Hall of Famer Nick Panaro and 2022 honoree Fred Singleton. And to begin with the 2022 inductions, here is Fred Singleton.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. All right, that's more like it. Our first honoree came all the way from South Carolina to be with us, Elise Bronzo. Graduating class of 2006. Basketball star. 4-year starter. New York State Scholar Athlete 4 years in a row. Scored 1,000 points here at White Plains High School. Team captain 2005, 2006. All league selection 2004, 5, and 6. All section 2005 and 6. And led our team in 2005 to Section 1 championship and Eastern Regional Championship. New York State Sports Writers 6-team All-Star. Journal News first team. Getting the feeling this girl was good. All New York State team, a Con Ed winner. At Colgate, named Patriot League Rookie of the Year. This was after she received her 4-year scholarship to Colgate. And now, Elise, you're inducted into the White Plains Athletics Hall of Fame. Let's hear it for Elise Ryan.
Everybody feels so good to be back into this group. I wrote a little something, so bear with me. I just want to start by congratulating my fellow inductees. It's amazing to be among your ranks, so thank you for accepting me. And I also thank you so much, Coach, for the kind and warm introduction. I also want to specifically thank Coach Adams for the generous nomination. I wish you were your coach, and I know you'll watch this later. You're one of the toughest people I know, and I know this cancer is no match for you, especially if you kick its butt like you kicked mine for 4 years. I look forward to celebrating this honor with you and your retirement when everything settles. And to my loved ones who made the effort to be here tonight, some of whom don't really know the rules of basketball and support me in everything that I do anyway, thank you so much. I'm so lucky. It feels sort of silly to be accepting this award alone, I have to say, because I've been recognized tonight for efforts made by dozens of people. The 2004 and 2006 Women's Tigers were known for making 2 runs at the state title, but our story started much earlier than that. It was seated in the rec league at Merrimack Avenue School, at St. Bernie's Gym, where basketball was a religion, or at MVP basketball camp at Highlands Middle School. Watching the sectional championships at the county center, there was nothing like it. Practice after Saturday morning, after Sunday morning. The juniors and seniors I played with when I was a freshman and sophomore, Jen, Sandra, Michelle, Miranda, Kelly, started to lay the groundwork to help White Plains make history. Our state runs were in the works for at least a decade, and the entire city of White Plains, all of you, conspired to make sure we succeeded. Looking back, some of it is so unlikely it's hard to wrap your head around. The Aguirre family moves to White Plains, and not only do we get a key recruit in Angele, but we have an ex-NBA player showing up at practice to push us around in the paint. We had aunts making us post-game cookies. I still didn't get that recipe. Mr. Kevin Darcy, who had young kids and a job and other things to do, would meet my dad and I on a Saturday morning to do some post-up drills. And now as an adult around the same age, I realized how generous that was. Sort of nuts. Our parents, the Hardys, the Bercheros, Mrs. Johnson, the Aguirres, the Bronzos, the Adams, the Flukes, our siblings, our cousins, our friends, showed up at every game, felt the highs and lows right alongside us. The Tigers were a unit. You mess with one of us, you got all of us. There's so much love there, and even though we don't talk all the time, that's my family. This Hall of Fame recognition might be in my name, but I'll tell you right now, I would not have scored 1,000 points if there wasn't a Danica boxing out, posting up, and beating the daylights out of me in practice. Our team wouldn't have gelled in the way that it did without Brittany, my sunshine, sounding off in the locker room and inspiring us all to dance and have fun throughout. Nina's lanky defense, Kim hitting threes, Liz diving for loose balls, bruises everywhere, Coach Flukes and Coach Owens keeping us calm and level-headed. Sometimes they weren't successful, but I tried. Mike stretching me out and taping me up before every game and serving as my therapist. Tom Eaton, rest in peace, pep talking us in the hallway. I'm the beneficiary of those collective efforts. Attending White Plains High School, both for the education that I received and the athletic experience I was afforded, is one of the best decisions I've ever made. And so tonight, I want to offer the 4 most important things I learned during my time as a Tiger. I'll keep it like I wrote. Come back to the fundamentals, number 1. Wow, the number of times my dad said this to me, it stuck. It's one of the greatest lessons I've learned in my life, on and off the court. You cannot replace developing solid fundamental skills in sports, in your career, and your personal relationships. No matter how mundane, perfect practice makes perfect. Repetition is magic. And there's no shortcut to skill building. Once you have your left hand layup down pat, you can start building up that left hand hook. But if your jumper is off one game, come back to that layup, baby, because it's automatic. The fundamentals are your touchstone, your sure thing, your home base, and when life gets crazy, you call on those fundamental skills to ground you and to build back from. Number 2, community is essential. I already touched on this a little bit, and I've actually made my career so far in community development. And if I trace it back, it started here in White Plains. The importance of loving each other and finding commonality is more important and relevant today than it's ever been. And while we had our disagreements, our dramas, our differences on the White Plains team, we always put them aside to serve the unit. There is unity in diversity. The whole is always greater than the sum of its parts. I will never forget the roar of the county center during that fateful game against Ossining when we came back to win it. Or the familiar faces in the rafters in Troy, New York, 2 hours north of White Plains on a weeknight. Crazy. And when we lost the state final and had that quiet, long ride back to White Plains, the mayor arranged to have a processional for our warm welcome home, reminding us that our community still had our back, even if we didn't bring back that trophy. White Plains taught me to make time to pay it forward and the importance of showing up for the people that you care about. Not just for the big games, but also those smaller moments. High fives at Stop and Shop. I didn't even know that guy. The aspiring ball player who volunteered to be our water girl. Number 3, failure is a blessing. Ooh, this took a long time to realize, but sure, the wins felt great. There are a few block shots in particular that I can still taste, and I can still feel the sharp sting of the buzzer sounding and realizing our dream of winning state title had evaded us. In hindsight, losing state final 2 years in a row is the best thing that ever happened to me. It was a blessing. Some people in here might want to walk out after hearing me say that, but there's something that happens to you when you fail publicly like that. You become fearless, and fearlessness has served me much more than the glory of a state title ever would have, although I guess I'll never know. Not better. Number four, and this is the last one, happiness and joy. Not winning is the ultimate success. This is one I learned from many people, but I have to credit my mother specifically. And it has taken a long time for this one to set in, and she's still working on me. If I could go back and tell my 14-year-old self one thing, it would be just have fun. Work your butt off, but laugh and enjoy the ride too. Don't take it so seriously that you forget that this is a game. I actually think that if I had been willing to laugh more and have greater ease when I played, I would have been a much better player, and I definitely would have been a better teammate. And when I look back now, the memory highlight reel is mostly freestyling on the bus, when we headed to Ursuline, when we actually handed it to Ursuline on their court the first time in years, felt so good, and pegging each other with snowballs when we practiced on a snow day, braiding each other's hair the night before a big game. It was the inside jokes or stupid nicknames for each other and the secret handshakes that mattered. When I was able to laugh off a missed shot rather than dwell on it, I always played better. And when I allowed for play, my day was more full, more fulfilling. I thanked a lot of people tonight because there were a lot of people to thank. But I have to close by addressing 4 people specifically. The best for last. All of my accomplishments are due to the unconditional love of my family, both chosen family and blood relatives. You mean so much to me. My fiance Mike, who isn't here tonight, but if he were, would remind me that he was admitted into his high school Hall of Fame first. Which is why I'm crying. Really only because he's older. And now moving on to my trio, my original 3. My mom, dad, and brother made my dream of playing basketball their dream too, sacrificing family vacations and sometimes sanity. For nights, weekends, for years, we all talked about everything that filled our free time. We talked about everything that filled our free time was basketball. They were in, all in, and I wouldn't have achieved any of this without them. Mom and Dad, despite your differences, you've always made my brother and I feel deeply loved and prioritized. You did everything, and I mean everything, to provide us with every opportunity in life. And when basketball ended for me, my first real heartbreak, it hurt. You reminded me who I was and led me back to myself. You actually made, well, sometimes super fearsome, a little bit crazy, great team, and I am because you are. To get specific for a second, my brother Paul, who was a far better basketball player than I was and had the wisdom and fortitude to self-awareness to realize the sport wasn't for him, thank you for being the wiser of us both and teaching me every day. To my mom, you are my rock, consistent source of joy and play. You blessed me with unshakable confidence and have always been my fierce mama bear and the soft landing where I recharge. You light up my world. Dad, Pops, Coach, there really are no words, and I can't even look at you. I still laugh when I think about us sitting in the kitchen and you, in all seriousness, adding Duke to the list of schools you thought I could play for. You believe so deeply in me and have committed your life to making me the best I can be, both on and off the court. Basketball is a part of our deep bond, but now, years later, it's only a fraction of our relationship and our friendship. I owe my work ethic, my drive to succeed, and my relentless commitment to my goals to you, and my ferocity. No prisoners. Thank you for everything. And thank you again to everyone here for this honor. Thank you, Big Whistle, for being here tonight. Big shout out to Sue. Can't wait to celebrate. Go Tigers.
Next up, these came from South Carolina. This next gentleman came from Seattle. The power of White Plains High School. Joe Bullock, graduating class in 1966. Football, basketball, track and field. 1964, varsity track, did the hurdles, triple jump and relays. Was on the varsity basketball team, 3-year starter, scoring 653 points. All county, all section won. In 1966, basketball record of 20-1. The team was Section 1 tournament champions. 63 to 65 on the football field. Started 3 years at cornerback. All county defensive back. 1971, he graduated from Eastern Washington State College. He wasn't finished with athletics though. In 1992, he was named the Seattle Metro Athletic Director of the Year. Much to his tribute, health teacher at both Mount Tahoma in Tacoma, Washington, and Ballard High School in Seattle. At Ballard, he was also the head basketball coach, director of athletics and activities in Tacoma, board president of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. He organized the Seattle Goodwill Games. In 1992, he was named the Seattle Metro High School Athletic Director of the Year. In the year 93-94, South Puget Sound League AD of the Year. And in 2003, he was inducted into the Washington Secondary School Athletic Administrators Association. You've been busy, Hall of Fame. And now, in 2022, you're inducted into the White Plains High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Joe Bullock.
I left here 57 years ago. Met with some friends yesterday for breakfast, and they said, "Well, you left town and just decided never to come back." But I tell you, when I got the call about this nomination, I wasn't sure that I would make that long trip. I went to my brother, my family, they said, "No, you're going." You're ready to go, and I'm glad that I did. I also would like to thank the committee for this selection, and also the fellow honorees as well. I cannot accept this on my own. I immediately started thinking about how I got here, arriving from Castle Hayne, North Carolina, when I was 8 years old. Didn't know anything about sports. And one thing that was so awesome was White Plains, starting with the Parks and Recreation Department. They kept us busy. We were always running. We did every sport there was. I tried everything possible, including ice skating. That lasted one attempt. I could not stay upright down at the rink. But again, as I travel around this country, I'm always amazed at how many people know about White Plains High School. Although they all think we're way upstate. I had a time of my life here. Started way back in junior high at Highland with Coach Cropsey, who taught me how to play quarterback. It was more than just throwing the ball. He also was our basketball coach. He taught me how to be a leader. From there, moving up to the high school, of course, we had Coach House in football. Same thing. Taught me how to be a competitor. And the man that was like a father to me, Coach Jeff. I'm really sad to hear yesterday that he's not doing well. But he had a tremendous impact on my life. He made me a starter as a sophomore in the basketball team. It shocked me. Wow, where did this come from? But I tell you, he taught me the game. Sometimes I thought he was punishing me because he made me go on the scouting trips with him. And I had to write down the opposing team's guard every week, every strength, their offensive sets. I'm 16, 17 years old. That was too much. But I ended up in coaching because of the individuals that I had the honor to play for. And Coach Jeff was one. I think Charlie can tell you, he was a tough guy. He was tough and always had a smile on his face. We practiced long hours, hard hours. You would think we were running cross country instead of basketball. We used to run so much. If that wasn't enough, I think he was the first coach around here that went out and got 10-pound vests. And we had to run suicides in vests. The games were a breeze. Because we're in such good condition. And it was an honor to be on the team in 1966 that gave him his first championship down at the county center. It was magical. We won our first 16 ball game. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had a snow day. There was no school. Friends and I, we went out. We used to go to people's home and shovel driveways, make a little money. All of a sudden, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we got called and said the game's on. We're going to play Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon came here and they put it on us. We met them again at the county center, and Coach said, look, I don't want you to look at their layup drill. They're doing their thing. They had phenomenal athletes, they're ducking the ball all over the place. It's pretty hard not to look down there when you do a layup and then you're running back to the end of the line. Mount Vernon's down there with stuffed tigers. Dunking stuffed tigers. The crowd was going crazy. Again, we're just simply trying to psych this out. Sweetest victory we ever had. We beat them and the locker room, they were fighting like crazy. But that was a great team. Again, I just want to give credit to all of those individuals who had a tremendous impact in my life. My family who's here, I appreciate you, I love you. My brother-in-law that came all the way from Dallas, Texas. And this relatives that came from New Jersey. And again, I'd like to thank you all. I am so glad that I made a decision to come home, because this is a special one. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Grady Fuller III, graduating class of 1980, football star. 3 touchdowns. Yeah, you can go ahead and pop. threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for 3 against New Rochelle. Always love to see people do things against New Rochelle. No offense to my son. Junior year, caught 21 passes for 353 yards, 5 touchdowns, MVP of the sectionals. Senior year, Brady was all-Metro wide receiver, all-county quarterback, all-state safety. You guys had to do everything. Helped the team go 10-0. Junior year at University of Massachusetts Amherst, All-American honorable mention. Senior year, he made an All-American. Holds the record, 18 interceptions, first team All-Yankee Conference, and tonight, Brady is inducted into the White Plains Athletics Hall of Fame. Let's hear for Brady Florida.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Giving praise and honor to God, who's the head of my life. Yeah, I went on and became a preacher. So anything's possible. I'm just so glad these hallways can't speak. I give you greetings. We come from Monroe, New York. I'm here with my beautiful family, my wife, Tian, my daughter, Brianna, Autumn, and Natasha. I promised I would make them stand, so please stand, girls. So many memories. I don't even know where to begin. But I told Coach Perry that as a preacher, you can't just give us 8 minutes to speak. It takes 8 minutes to say good morning. Thank you anyway. But we had a great time here. I can't even try to encapsulate all the different memories that we had. This was a formative years. This is where we became men and women, and seeds were planted in us. And I can't even go down the list, but Joe Scriber, Wes Scriber, and Yolanda, cheerleader and wrestlers, friends from back in the day. My friend TJ from Mamaroneck. We played against him since we were in Pop Warner. The Mamaroneck Bears with the fiberglass helmets. Real good. We've been hitting heads for a long time. That's probably why we don't think so straight anymore, TJ. No. Then we even went on and played against each other in college. He played for BU, I played for UMass. And we always give each other's digs, but that's my buddy. I'm so glad he came down from Boston to share this experience with me tonight. Mom and Dad were great supporters of Gibson, Greg Gibson. I can't forget Greg. Greg's my brother. Even though my physical brother Shabazz couldn't make it, Greg stood in. We knew each other also since 5. Something happened at 5, but Greg was a good friend of mine, always has been, fellow deacon and buddy. So I thank God for Greg. I got my buddies down from Second Baptist Church, Kevin and Dell. They're part of the Men of Gideon. So they are not just my biological buddies, these are my spiritual brothers. So I thank God that they came down and helped support me. They came a long way, so give them a couple claps. Because he just lost his son Saturday night, so we're praying for him. His name is Samuel Perry, so please keep him in prayer. And yeah, life is real, and life is short. So all I know is that you have to seize the moment while you're there, because tomorrow's not promised any of us. And just as soon as you woke up today, tomorrow is not promised. You never know how the day is going to turn. So, but I'm grateful. I've learned to be grateful. I've learned to be thankful. My parents had a big part of who I am today. And even though they went on to glory, they went on to heaven last year and the year before, both Mom and Dad. Mom left an indelible mark on me. She knew she was a guidance counselor at New Rochelle High School. Somebody said New Rochelle High School, sorry. So she had to sit in the middle at those games because White Plains is over here and New Rochelle's over there. She promised the kids she would sit in the middle and that I wouldn't do too much harm to them, but we did our work in New Rochelle. And Mamaroneck, the other Tigers. But we had a great time, and anything that happened here, Miss Holloway would make sure my mother knew about it, so I didn't get away with nothing. It was fun. As we reflect back, there's so many memories, so many friends. 3 things that, since someone was numbering, and we learned to do that in speaking classes, but 3 things I walked away with that I'd like to share, particularly since we were the only team that was 10-0. There were some teams that were undefeated. There were some 8-0s, maybe some 9-0s, but there was no other 10-0s. We'll make that clear, because there was only one 10-0 team, that was us. And what I learned from those years, and I try to pass on to my kids, the very first thing we learned was friendship. And we were at each other's house all the time, year round. It wasn't just football season. There was some cake parties going on. I wasn't part of everything,
Yeah, sure.
Cake parties, there was a lot of things going on. And we hung out clubbing together, and that's what they did. I was studying at the time. We had a great time. We were brothers. And I think that's what really gave us an advantage over a lot of the teams. It was year round. And so that friendship is something to this day, why some of my buddies are here now, because we reflect back and it's like, it seems like yesterday, the kids are like, you were alive in the 70s? They had cars back then? I said, no, it's not that long. But we had a good time, and I think friendship was the first lesson that I learned. The second lesson that I learned, and I think the reason we became 10-0, was because our coaches were sadistic. I said they were very sadistic. They had us train year round. It wasn't just during the season. They even had the nerve to send us running programs for the summer. When all the other kids are going to camp and running around, we were running in the summertime and lifting. Thanks, Coach. I'm still running. I can't get it out of my system. I have a treadmill at home. I'm running. Monday night, we were running. Everybody else was class students and doing this and that. We were running, lifting, working out. I believe White Plains High School was probably one of the most well-conditioned teams in at least the county. Because by fourth quarter, when everybody else was sucking wind, we were just getting started. We were just beginning to start sweating. Because they had us in such great condition. So I thank God for that. To this day, everybody asks why I still work out. It was ingrained in me when I was young that you have to train. It wasn't a question. So that's part of it. And friends would come home from college, they said, is everybody in White Plains cop diesel? Everybody's huge. Everybody works out down here. I said, no, not everybody. Just the athletes. Just the athletes. So the second thing I learned was you have to keep yourself in shape. Take care of your temple. Because you only get one shot at this. And although we might have partied and hung out a little bit, when it's all said and done, we went right back into the gym. Right, TJ? Yeah, absolutely. Back to the gym. Then the last thing I learned, and this is something that probably only the Tigers from at least 79, 80 in that era could relate to. So all the pictures in there with the other guys who've been inducted when we first come in. And we see a lot of those guys, but the memories we have of them is different than the ones you had. Because when we were on the sideline, there were some dudes, some Annunziatos, some Sam Bowers, Artie Monk. These guys were monstrous. And they were on the sideline, not just to cheer us on, but to let us know that if you mess up one more time, you're gonna have to deal with us right here on the sideline. They had their jackets on, their black and orange jackets on the sidelines, and they were monstrous. They were huge to us. We knew that if we didn't take care of business out there, they were gonna take care of business with us on the sideline. To this day, I still think about Sam and those guys. So fear was the last thing. It wasn't fear in the sense that you were shaken, but fear as a sense of respect. Because White Plains Tigers meant something. Wherever you went, you were a Tiger. And people understood you came from a program, not just something thrown together. The parents were there. They shut the town down on Saturdays, and we had parades. You guys remember that? We had parades on Mamaroneck Avenue on Saturdays. The whole town shut down because we were getting ready to play. So there was a sense of pride. I moved away, so I can't really tell exactly what's going on now. But being a Tiger meant something. It really did. And even to this day, I still feel it. I still have the jacket. My daughter wears it for Halloween now, but it's orange and black, but she thinks she's a pumpkin. She's wearing my jacket. But it means something to me. It doesn't even fit like it used to. I don't know, I think it shrunk. That's what happened. But I'm so honored to be here, and congratulations to all the honorees, because I have a sense of what you went through. It might have been a different discipline, different sport, but when you came through these hallways at White Plains High, it meant something. And now we can walk away with pride, knowing that we contributed to something that's greater than we are. And you can't ask for anything better than that. Thank you, and God bless.
One more time for Grady. Henry Lawrence. Henry Lawrence, yes. All right. Henry Lawrence is the brother of our next inductee, Emmanuel Manny Lawrence. Manny graduated in the class of 1957, basketball star. Starting forward on the 54-55 through 56-57 teams. Averaged 13.8 points per game during his illustrious career. During that career, his team was 51-7. Tigers won the Class AA and Open championships in 56 and 57, and in those 2 years, he was all-county. Starting guard at Colorado State University. Junior year, averaged 13.9 points per game and 6.3 rebounds per game. Topped that during his senior year with 16.4 points per game, and was named the All-Mountain States Athletic Conference. Here is Henry Lawrence acceptance for his late brother, Emmanuel Lawrence.
Today is an honor to be here in the presence of every man and every woman who has come before me, who will come after me, because today, I, the son of Mary Lawrence, was asked by my uncle, Henry Lawrence, to represent our family, which has been present in the city of White Plains for a full century. Today, the conversation, the things that I wrote about, mean absolutely nothing. When my uncle said to me, "Hey man, I need you to do something for me." I said, "What's that?" He said, "I don't know if we'll be able to make this drive down." He said, "This event." I said, "It's an easy day. We're coming to get you." He said, "Well, I don't want to put you out." I said, "But it's an easy day, huh? It's not hard for us to do this. This is what we do." And he said to me, "Are you sure? Because I don't want to put you out." And I said, "No, it's an easy day. We got you." Right then and there, I knew that somehow, some way, he was going to drive down here with no uncertain terms. He was not going to accept a ride from me. I make that point right now because my uncle, Henry Lawrence, was number 4 of 7. What he did in the descriptions that are here, I was not even born yet. I didn't exist. I was an ideal on Saturday night, as I was described. With all of those things said and done, he has accomplished amazing things. Rev, when you just said you saw these guys on the sidelines, when I walked in here today, I realized something. Men who have been mentoring me my entire life, before I knew that a mentor was required, were mentoring. What Howard Davis did was not legendary, it was fictional. What my Uncle Herbie, what every man and woman in here that had done, and what you're being inducted for, we thought that was superhero stuff. That was stuff that we didn't even imagine being possible. And then when we heard the stories and met the men and the women who did the things that they did, it then became tangible. So for every brick, every mile, every stone that was kicked, turned over, and brushed off and got up from, it paved the way for everyone like myself who wasn't even born. Now, it was tough in my family. Very tough in my family. You pursued excellence on a daily basis, and if you did not pursue excellence on a daily basis, you had a hell of a day. That's what it was. My uncle confirmed stories about my mother. And I thought they were tough. But she was just as tough. Because it wasn't easy being in the Lawrence. You see, Uncle Manny's father, my grandfather, Joshua, who my son is also named after, started the sanitation workers union in the city of White Plains. There were several men who were burned or otherwise injured, and there was not an organized union structure for that. That organization took place at 39 Jefferson Avenue. Every man that I now see who is senior to me, I watched them as I was a child, come to my grandfather's basement, organize and structure themselves so that they can make a better life for those who are going to come after them. So tonight, I accept this award for my uncle. But my uncle Henry said, you need to step up and do a little bit more. We've been carrying this for a long time. Everything that he has done, everyone down this line, all the inductees, they all did it before I was born. So I want to thank the city of White Plains because in 1924, my grandparents moved from Ferris Avenue to 39 Jefferson Avenue. Help me out with math, because I'm not a great math student. So I do these numbers. 24, and there has been a Lawrence and White Plains since then. I don't have anything super funny to say. I'm not really a funny guy. But when I look at the fact that I'm up here talking about people who paved the way for me before I knew that there was a road to travel, I'm humble. I'm not a millennial. I just got a smartphone. My kids keep me grounded because I watch my grandparents and my parents live a grounded life. My wife, 36 years, and I count daily. 36 years is here. My two sons, my cousin who I've not seen in 20 plus years is here. White Plains High School and the city of White Plains is a family. There's no two ways about it. It never stops giving unconditional love. And I want to thank everyone who has shown our family on this day unconditional love. Thank you.
Frank is doing double duty tonight, so I know he introduced the first four, and now he's back in the audience where he should be. The first person I'm going to introduce is Sandra Mastrangelo, class of 2008, softball. She was a 5-year starting catcher, played every inning of every game, and led the Tigers to 95 victories, 4 league titles, 2 Section 1 Class AA finals. She made All-League 5 times. She made All-Section 4 times. She made the Lowhead, which is the Journal News All-Star team 3 times. She had a career batting average of .416, and she set White Plains High School records for games played, innings played, runners caught stealing, hits, RBIs, and runs scored. She continued her career at Brown University, and she graduated from Dartmouth College's prestigious School of Medicine. It is my distinct honor to present Sandra Mastrangelo for induction into the White Plains High School Athletics Hall of Fame.
of Fame Committee for this outstanding honor. I'm humbled to be recognized among such exceptional inductees. It's incredible to be back. It's so nice to see everyone's faces tonight, and I feel so fortunate to be here. The individual and collective impacts that you all have made, all of the inductees, all of the community members of White Plains, are representative of this school and our community, and I'd like to personally congratulate all of you at this time. Congratulations. This spring will mark 15 years since I last donned a White Plains High School uniform. It might not seem so long ago for some people that have been up here, I recognize that. And for those who also know, the last time I terrified the opposing team with my catcher's mask, which had a hand-painted tiger on it. You're laughing, you know. And while I have been very fortunate to pursue a lot of my passions outside of the White Plains community, I am and I will always be a Tiger. It has been a true privilege to grow up here, a very uplifting and encouraging community whose demographic and population reflects the world in which we live. I have always believed that I am because we are. Friends, teachers, and mentors have supported my development, and I graduated high school with the faculties I leveraged in college and beyond. Civic-mindedness, bilinguality, and an unrelenting desire to ally myself with underrepresented communities. I am deeply appreciative of my teammates. Thank you all for being here, without whom none of this would be possible. Our success on the field was built off of it. You are some of my closest friends and share some of my proudest memories. I'd like to thank my coach, Ted O'Donnell, for believing in my ability and giving me a chance. Who's also an inductee this evening. As a 7th grader, I wasn't aware of how valuable this opportunity would truly be. All I knew is that I was growing a love and appreciation of this game that was rivaled by few. You are certainly one of them. OD, you pushed me beyond what I could have imagined I was capable of. Your emphasis on persistence, academics, and kindness are imbued in my character, and I'm so fortunate to have the opportunity, as many others have, to be part of your family. Even now, while I'm at work, I work as an orthopedic surgery resident, I can't help but hear you in the back of my brain saying, practice doesn't make perfect, perfect practice makes perfect, as I throw knots and tie sutures and try to become the best surgeon that I could possibly be. Lastly, I'd like to thank my mom, my true home base. You have taught me how to work with what I have in the moment and to help others always. You've shown me what it means to love through struggle and success and have been the biggest part of my every accomplishment. Your generosity and sense of humor help me stay alive when I'm down in the count, and I have learned by your self-example. Now it's my turn to lift as I climb. My induction into the Athletic Hall of Fame is among one of my greatest achievements to date. I seek to honor the opportunities I have been privileged to have as a member of this loving and accepting community, one where I can live boldly and without boundaries. As a physician and a lifelong educator, I'm determined to create safe spaces for our youth and hope to continue to use my identity as activism. I am truly honored to be selected among all of you accomplished inductees that have preceded me and hope to pave a path for those who follow. It is my hope to continue our collective drive towards excellence while finding humility and justice in everything that we do. Thank you.
Next up is Sandra's coach, Ted O'Donnell. Ted was a coach for softball from 1996 to 2022. He won 12 league championships. He was 12-time league coach of the year. He reached the Section 1 finals 4 times. He was 3-time Westchester Lowhead Coach of the Year, and he also had 426 victories. He's among the top 10 winningest coaches in Class AA, and all time in New York State. And he was a White Plains social worker here at White Plains from 1984 to 2022. And it is my distinct honor to present Ted O'Donnell for induction into the White Plains Athletics Hall of Fame.
Good evening. Those of you that know me know that I never miss an opportunity to put on a jacket, tie, and pants. I considered maybe showing up in my regular uniform of shorts and t-shirt, but finally decided that maybe this wasn't the proper setting. I want to thank Coach Patty Gilmartin and Coach Skip Stevens for nominating me, and I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for believing that I'm worthy of such an honor. I'm not sure who that is up there. They asked me for a picture, and I just couldn't find one. I think that's from one of the yearbooks in the late 80s. I've been here a long time. I could talk here all night about sand, but I'm just going to give you one story about her. It was already mentioned. I'm not a big stat guy. I don't care what you're batting, what you're batting at, the stat is the team stat. Are we winning? That's the stat, because it's a team sport, made up of individuals. But that statistic that was mentioned about sand, the more you think about it, the more remarkable it is. She came up to the varsity as an 8th grader. She played every single inning of every single game and scrimmage for 5 years. Wow. It almost sounds like I was an abusive coach. But I'll never forget the first few times that I tried to pull her out of the game. She was catching. And I would say, Sam, you're going to sit. What? Let me have to sit. You need rest. You're catching. No. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. No, you'll learn that catching is a tough position. And it's, the wear and tear is going to... No. It's not, I promise. You'll wait and see. I need to play. And she did. And that stat alone tells you everything you want to know about Sandra. I decided early on in my life that I wanted to be a social worker. I'm not really sure why, but I did. And after graduating with a master's, my first real job as a social worker, just by chance, was at a high school. I was a student assistance counselor at Portchester High School. And it wasn't that I was looking to work in a high school. And it didn't take me long to figure out, hey, it's a great place to work. Surrounded by kids all day, the energy in the building, the activities, the sports. So when the position of school social worker at White Plains High School became available in 1984, 1984, not 1884, but I applied for it and I got it. And this is the truth. I was here only a few months when I knew this was where I wanted to spend my career. I knew it. I knew back then, in 1984, that I'm not going anywhere. And I don't think I want to be anything but a social worker. I retired last June as a social worker after 38 years. I knew what a special place White Plains was. I mean, I live in White Plains. The kids here are amazing. The diversity of the student body, the dedicated faculty and staff. And what was very important to me, this was a district that was truly committed to supporting all students. And I wasn't a teacher. I was one of those support people. And I was in a building and in a district that valued that. So in 1990, the JV softball position opened up. I never really aspired to be a coach, but I've always loved sports. You know, I played competitive sports throughout high school and even into my adulthood. But I figured, hey, it's JV softball, I played softball, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I was only out in the field a few weeks before I was hooked. And I knew I wanted to be a coach. I knew that I wanted to have a career as a coach. So I went about trying to make myself the best possible coach I could be. I went to every coaching clinic, everywhere, different states. I bought every single VHS tape. So you may have to go home and Google that. Every tape on coaching and coaching skills. After a few years, I knew I wanted to be a varsity coach. But I also knew I only wanted to be a varsity coach here. I didn't want to be a varsity coach anyplace else. So there wasn't an opening, but I just waited. I loved being a JV coach, and then, as luck would have it, in 1996, varsity coach position opened up. And at the right young age of 45, I became the varsity coach at White Plains High School. I was fortunate because I already knew all of the players, and we were successful that very first season in 1996. We won the first league championship in the history of the program in 96. They'd never won a league championship before. And we followed it up in 97 and 98. We won the first sectional game in the history of the program in 1997. And we were beginning to develop a winning culture that continues to this day. We've always been competitive. In 2002, we reached our first sectional semifinal, and by the way, 3 starters from that team are here tonight. That team lost 3-2 to defending state champion John Jay, but we had established ourselves as, you know, a team to be reckoned with. We continue that success with the league championships that were mentioned. We continue to make noise in the sectionals every single year. We made the semifinals again in 4 and 5, and then in 2006, we made our first finals. Sand was actually the starting catcher. Do you remember the score of the final, Sand? I do, I remember everything. It was 1-0, we lost 1-0 in extra innings. And then the following year, when Sand was a senior, we surprised everybody by making it again. We graduated 7 stars. Nobody thought we were going to do anything. We ended up in the sectionals again. This is a program that I'm so proud of. For 26 seasons, we have averaged over 16 wins a season. That's an incredible stat. Only twice were we under 500 and barely under 500. We have been an established, you know, softball program in New York State now for a long time. And you look at that kind of excellence and that kind of success for over a quarter of a century. Quarter of a century. And it's not due to one person. It's impossible. Okay? I may be up here being honored by being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but there are just so many people over those 26 years who contributed to the success of this program. I've always been blessed to have a very supportive administration, Dr. Ricca, all the way to the top. We've always had that kind of support. principal, Mr. Martinez, big fans of the program. I never had to worry about the politics of everything, because they just were believers, and they knew what we were doing was good. And of course, athletic director, Matt Cameron, who in his short time here has made more improvements to the softball facility of any AD in my tenure here. And the people that we forget, the grounds crew, the custodians, you know, the guys that are out there every day taking care of all the facilities, but especially taking care of the softball fields, and the custodians who opened up the gyms so many nights and so many weekends, you know, in the fall and in the winter, so that we could either practice or have open gyms or run clinics. And of course, the parents. The parents who coached their Little League teams, who drove them for all the games and the practices, who, many of them, who as their daughters developed a passion for the sport of softball, allowed them to go on these travel teams. You know, they travel all over the country, you know, and have incredible competitive experiences and to become the best possible players they could become. And the parents who came to the games, every game that they could come to, and cheered for not only their daughter, but her teammates. And as important, didn't cheer against the other players. You know, I would say to them, you know, these are kids. You know, if they make an error or something, it may be to our benefit, but we don't cheer that. And of course, the fundraising, the incredible fundraising that they did during my tenure as a varsity coach. And for example, last spring, the entire team went to Florida for a week of spring training. School doesn't pay for that. You know, I mean, we have to do tremendous fundraising, and that would not have happened without the parents. And then the coaching staff. I knew when I first got the varsity job, I knew that I could not do this by myself. And right from the get-go, I started to surround myself with people who knew the game, who were good role models, and who really loved working with kids. That was important. And knew how to get along with kids. You know, starting those early years with John Roselli, who now lives in Colorado, and believe it or not, one of my earlier coaches, he doesn't look that old because he's not. He is Mr. Doug Prock. He goes back. Doug was in his 20s when he approached me in the hallway, right over there, right, Doug? You know, little Dougie there. So, do you need any help coaching? I said, yeah. And he came aboard, he ended up being a JV coach. And people like Henry Cafaro, a retired guidance counselor, always had good people around me. And the last 12 to 20 years, we've had a very solid coaching staff. You know, and that is so important. Starting with Chris Rowan, who's here tonight. Chris is one of the brightest softball minds I've ever met. He's been with us for 12 years. You know, he's committed to White Plains softball. So committed, he's taken over the program. I couldn't be happier. I know that the program is in incredible hands, and that the future will continue to be bright. Coach Patty Gilmartin, who is an experienced and successful varsity swimming coach, but who joined our staff as a modified and then JV coach over 12 years ago. And she's been with us every year. And you have no idea how important it is to have someone like Coach Gilmartin, who thinks the same way that we do, has the same expectations, and those kids, when they got to the varsity, after playing for her, they're ready. They're ready to play at that next level. And it's not just the coaches. You know, there are other people who are so important to the success of a program. And one of those people who had the unfortunate role of sitting next to me. She was in a chair, I was on a bucket. From the very beginning, keeping score, keeping me calm, keeping me sane, and that was Joe Cruz. So there's some Hall of Fame out there waiting for you, Joe, somewhere. Just for heaven, I'm not sure, but you have no idea how important having you with the program all these years has been. And the one person that I know that I wouldn't be up here without is Coach Skip Stevens. Really embarrassing him right now. But Skip, you know that you are responsible for the success that we've had over the last 20 years. He's been with me for over 20 years. And I could not have done this without you. And that's the truth. And thank you. And of course, the players. The kids that came to practice every day, who practiced hard, who played hard, who supported one another. I would tell them, all I expect from you is 100% effort, 100% of the time. You can do that. I don't say you have to be successful every time. I don't say you can't strike out and you can't make an error, but you have to give 100% effort, 100% of the time. And those are the kind of players that we've always had in our program. And I look out there now and I see kids, you're not kids anymore.
We have kids.
You know, who were on my teams in the late 90s. And I feel like so blessed to have been part of your lives and all the lives of the players that I have coached. Players who understood the meaning of teamwork, of being part of a team. It's not about you. I know I'm old school. Is that music playing? Is this music? Do I have to get off the stage? No, it's not. Right. I'm almost done. But the players, I mean, the players that we had, and I see many of you here today, and can I tell you how touched I am? And the fact that I have parents here going back to teams from the late 90s, really, it touches me more than you know. And thank you for coming and supporting me and supporting the program. It means a lot. But these were kids that went on to represent White Plains High School, the program and the community, with pride, with class, and with dignity. Kids who always supported one another and knew the importance of not just being successful on the field, but being successful in the classroom. Since Scholar Athlete Awards were started out maybe 15 years ago, rarely does he ever lie that we don't have a Scholar Athlete team. We always have players who get it. They understand, you know. They're probably not going to play in the Olympics. They're not gonna play professional ball, you know? They can learn a lot of lessons on the field, but you have to have an education. So I want to thank them. I want to thank all the players for believing, for trusting me, for trusting the coaching staff, and for believing in the program and what we wanted to accomplish. Together, we have built something much bigger than softball. Thank you.
Charlie Saunders, senior, class of 1967. He's being honored for basketball. He was a 2-year starter on varsity, 64, 65, and 65, 66, scoring over 400 points. He was named All-County in 1964, 65, and he led White Plains High School to a 20-1 record in 65, 66. Also league Section 1 AA titles and open titles. He went on to become a professional player in Germany, and in 1977 he made Western Division All-Pro. It is my distinct honor to welcome Charlie Saunders for induction into the White Plains High School Athletics Hall of Fame.
I'll make it short and sweet. They always say the best for last. You know, my teammate Joseph Bullock, he said it all with Coach Jeff. Coach Jeff pushed us every day. And went for Coach Jeff, I would probably be the man I am today. Also, my heroes from growing up was Manny Long and Malcolm Green and my older brother Ernest. But to say that all the stuff that we went through, the best thing I can remember with Coach Jeff was saying, no, 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 Charlie, no. I was shooting in the corner. It was going up. And then when I made it, he came, oh, good shot. But my experience at White Plains High School was a great experience. And playing with all my teammates, if it wasn't for them passing me the ball, I couldn't shoot. And it was one time, you know, one of my old classmates just told me tonight, he said, Charlie, you remember when y'all played Mount Vernon? And y'all beat them the first time. And the second time, no, y'all lost to them because you wouldn't pass the ball. And he said, why don't you pass the ball? Y'all might win. So in the section at the county center, we won. And I came back that Monday and said, I passed the ball, right? You know, so that was a big win for us as a section. But all I can say is that in my military, I'm retired military. I spent 20 years in the military. It was a good experience. The best. Oh, I didn't know. I thought that was somebody back in the back there. It looked like, was that a dummy? You know, you were saying that's time up, you know. And then somebody else reminded me something tonight, you know, I've been away from White Plains for 52 years. They said, you remember me? I said, no, I don't. They said, I used to braid your hair when we had the cornrows and you used to give me a grape soda. I said, oh, okay. You know, I put that back in the back. Yeah, I remember you now. That grape soda. You know. But I'm honored to be inducted to the White Plains High School Athletes Hall of Fame. And I want to thank my teammates for passing me the ball. Thank you. What happened, one of my teammates, they couldn't outshoot me, right? So when I was stationed in Tacoma, Washington, they wanted to play golf. But they didn't know that I was a 3 handicap. So he came out there, you know, said, go ahead, you got the honors. You're my guest at Fort Lewis, Washington. You know, we playing. One hole, 180 yards. Him and his brother-in-law hit the ball. They over there hitting. And I didn't swing the club again. He said, well, I went to the hole and got my hole in one out and put it in my pocket. And that was with Joe Bullard.
Last but certainly not least, Joseph Fred Singleton. He coached cross country and track for many years, from 1977 with me until present time that we're still on this Hall of Fame committee and the Louts committee. He's also been the meet director of the Louts game since 2001. And still is the meet director. He coached championship athletes and teams for 6 decades, including this year when he won the Westchester County Championship He is 3-time Westchester County Coach of the Year. He was also a Mount Vernon High School hurdles specialist. He won the Louts games 3 times and won the New York State Championship twice. Also 3 times, I'm sorry. He was 2-time national hurdle champion in 1970 in the 180 lows and the 120 highs. He's co-captain and All-American at Penn State. And he was also inducted in the Westchester County Sports Hall of Fame in 1998. And it is my pleasure and distinct honor to introduce Fred Singleton for induction into the White Plains Athletics Hall of Fame.
I think my team thinks that the louder that they cheer, the easier practice will be tomorrow. It's not the case. And where's Charlie? Charlie, not only did you pass the ball, you've got to pass the mic, too. Come on, you know. I was in the corner. I needed the ball. And Nick, with his 2-time state champion, I thought they took one from me. I was three times. I want to thank the members of the committee for bestowing upon me this great honor. And by the way, much of this was written the other night. I was in a hotel room while Sophie was getting ready to go out to the state meet, and I brought my computer to try and tweak some of this. So I've been here 47 years, I got a lot to say. So bear with me. But I know it's a school night, and I don't want Sophie staying up to 3 o'clock in the morning doing her work. There you go, okay. Thought I was humming too, okay. It's so rewarding to think that others are acknowledging the hard work that we coaches do. To my fellow inductees, I share the evening with some of the greatest athletes and coaches in the history of White Plains High School, and congratulations to all of you. For me, I've been coaching at White Plains High School for 47 years. How long is that? When I first started, the only cell phones were what people called from prison from. That was a cell phone. I wrote that one myself. Seriously, I started in November 1976, and so did Jimmy Carter. Gerald Ford had just been defeated, and I've been coaching here since 9 presidents have held office. But all in all, this is actually my 49th year in the district, and next year, God willing, will be my 50th year in this wonderful district of White Plains. I started with hair. For 37 years, I taught social studies over at Rochambeau and loved every minute of it, or almost every minute of it. There are so many people to thank, but I want to first start with my friend Nick Pinero, who mentored me. I learned my coaching skills from him, and I will forever be in his debt for what he taught me. He is a great friend. A couple of weeks ago, Nick retired as an official, and fittingly, it was on a day that White Plains had one of its greatest victories, the day that we won the Westchester County cross-country championships. So, Nick, you are the best. I want to thank committee member and Hall of Famer Sue Adams, one of the greatest coaches here at White Plains, for nominating me. And I also want to thank 2 trailblazers who in the early 60s were 2 of the first African Americans to be coaches. That would be Harry Jefferson and the great Dan Woodard. Without them, the Spencer Mayfields, Fred Singletons, and so many other minorities would not have been hired into the system. I also want to thank some of the people who usually are not acknowledged at these induction ceremonies, although Ted did steal some of my thunder with this. And I want to thank all the nurses, trainers, secretarial staff, grounds crew, custodial staff, security guards, athletic directors, administrators, Board of Ed members, and so many more who have worked tirelessly to provide the best of conditions for the coaches and therefore for the athletes of our districts. And of course, I want to thank the bus drivers for their safe delivery of all of us. 47 years of riding those yellow buses. I also want to thank the thousands of parents who have shared their children with us. I've been blessed to know so many wonderful families. Originally, I started to list some of the great families that I've been associated with here, but then when that list got to about 45 or 50, I said, you know what, I better not list all of these people, because I know I'll forget somebody. So I took a different approach. The families who have had the most siblings on our team include the Lawrences with 5, and at one time we had triplets and twins on the team at the same time, and the Donnellys with 5. But it was the Cardinals who topped the list with 6 athletes on the team. Over the years, so many parents have volunteered at our concession stands, they've gone to so many of our meets, and they've just been the best people to deal with, and as a coach, that's the best thing that can happen. Mrs. Mulvey recently had our concession stand. Mrs. White in terms of dealing with the run-a-thon, and in the past we've had Mrs. O'Leary, Mrs. Gelston, And for a time period, we had 4 parents who were so great at leading our dinners that I finally called them the Fantastic Four. That was Mrs. Tatlock, Mrs. Gow, Mrs. Luth, and the wonderful Amy Leppy. So to all the parents, even Mrs. McDermott, when our bus, we were going to Vermont, and the bus company called us an hour before we were supposed to depart to tell us that the bus wasn't coming. She drove our tents up to Vermont for us. So, I've had 47 years of great parenting, and although your kids might not always appreciate it, the coaching staff does. Over the years, I've heard so many times parents say, "Thank you so much for what you've done for my son or daughter." But what you fail to realize is what your sons and daughters have done for me. They have shown me that I made the right decision in going to education and staying in it, and allowed me to stay active in a sport that I love. I'm always grateful for all the parents. I want to thank all the other track and cross-country coaches, along with Nick, with whom I've worked side by side. Dan Ferry, Lamont McCormick, Carlos Agudello, Kaylin Fitzsimons, Melissa Hidalgo, Mike Lindbergh, Paul Davis, Vinnie Doherty, and all the rest, including the late Fred Bressler and Ed Zemmel. Thank you for making Thank you for making my job so much easier and putting up with all my jokes every day. That wasn't a joke. I accept this award on behalf of all the track coaches. Of course, I want to thank the thousands of athletes who have run for our program. Whether it was the super distance group of the late 70s led by Greg Herzog, or the 1980 girls Section 1 team, or the sizzling sprinters of the mid-1980s, the star-studded 1991 team, which may have been our best team, or the 2000 team, which won the county championships by 50 points, the great 2019 girls team led by Farrah Miller, and of course, this year's 2022 boys cross-country county champs. And our own sensational Section 1 champion, Sophie Ginsburg. I've been blessed to have great athletes. In fact, it says up there that I was part of the coaching staff that coached 8 of the athletes into the Hall of Fame. But the vast majority of our athletes are not Hall of Famers. However, these are individuals who are just as important to us as everybody else is. One of the names, unfortunately she couldn't be here tonight, is a young lady, a 2015 graduate, Kristen Sutton. Kristen will admit that she was not the fastest runner that we had, but she was always one of our favorites. She was dedicated to trying to make herself a better runner. After almost all of her back-of-the-pack finishes, she and I would just talk. And I explained that it's not about the other runners, it's about you and making yourself better. Last November, Kristen ran in the New York Marathon. She gave me the app so I could follow her. For the next 5 hours and 27 minutes and 20 seconds, I watched my phone as she entered each furrow. And with a tear in my eye, I saw that she had entered Central Park. Kristen epitomizes the greatness of this sport and why I've stayed in it so long. And by the way, on that night or that day, she beat 5,096 other athletes. Also in that race was another White Plains High School graduate, Andrew Kelsey. If you know anything about the New York City Marathon, it's one of the best marathons in the world. And Andrew took 95th place. As for the Louts games, I've had the pleasure of being at 50 of the 54 games, only missing the games due to college. I had the pleasure of running in the first 3, having been a fan for 2 others, and then coach and or meet director of all the ones since 1977. The Louts games made my career, as in my junior year, the Mount Vernon Knights had a fantastic day, and the headlines reflected it. It even said, the coach from Manhattan College, that's Collins and Singleton, I'll take them now. And although things were a lot slower back then, the word got out, and the letters started coming in. Attention was drawn our way, and eventually I received a scholarship. To this day, I do everything I can do to pay back the games for what they have brought to my life. Hopeful that the efforts that all the great members of the Games Committee might shine a light on some of the athletes who are featured. I go all over trying to find these athletes, and last year we had a young lady come from British Columbia to run in the Games. I acknowledge the men and women who put together the best track meet in the country, the member of the Louts Games Executive Board. Let's give them an applause. I've had so many great friendships as part of my life, and 2 of my best friends, Dayton Osborne and Michael Russell, taught me into running track. I had been cut from the Mount Vernon basketball squad. I didn't make the final cut. Not that they have basketball players in Mount Vernon. But they said, while you're getting ready for baseball, go out and run. That was in 1968, and I'm still involved in this great sport. My high school teammates have remained great friends, and I was honored that the Louts Games had us back, the 1970 Mount Vernon team, the team that won the Louts Games. We call ourselves Forever Knights, and the team from Mount Vernon was fantastic that year. And if you ever want an hour to talk, I'll tell you all about it. Our 2 coaches, Dave Ryder, who I visit every year, he's 93. He still pole vaults. He still throws, yes he does. He still throws the hammer. He does 5Ks. This man is incredible. And the late Bob Rook were instrumental in my guidance. If any of my athletes, if I've meant 1/10 of what these 2 men have meant to me, then my coaching career has been a success. My family has cheered me on all the way, although it meant missing family functions or planning around the track schedule. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Margot, for always supporting my coaching and telling me that she is proud of what I do for the kids. My little girl, Amanda, who attended her first Louts Games at age 1. I think you won one of the races, too. I thank you and my new son-in-law, they just got married in July, for also showing me the great family love and providing me with support. It's been a great honor to be part of the July 30th wedding. I am proud that you are both educators, a profession that I have always called the world's most important occupation. And if you don't believe that, get on an airplane with a guy who hasn't been trained to fly. Go to an operating room and the doctor's never been to college. All right? It is the world's most important occupation. And speaking of family, of course, I want to talk about my late parents, Lucille and Joseph, who are always with me. They meant the world to me. And they're the ones who said, you're not working, you go out there and play. You're going to be working the rest of your life. And they were right. And of course, to my brother Ken, former Major League Baseball player and announcer, he's been a great inspiration too. My family, all generations, is the best. And finally, in my freshman year at Penn State, during a heated conversation, I don't want to go into the whole story, but my head track coach had given us a workout that was unbelievable, unbelievably stupid. And it left many of us injured and hurt, and it left me with the thought of, maybe I don't want to be here anymore. I'm a freshman. I talked to my assistant coach, Warren Coleman. And he used a line that, although I seldom use it in public, it has become the theme of my life. After a long, tense conversation, and he realized I wasn't changing my mind, he looked at me and said, you know, it's your life. I'm just passing through it. On the way back to my dorm, I was thinking, I'm still upset, and as an 18-year-old, I realized the importance of that line. Realizing that we come into contact with so many people, some for only a night, meeting some people only a night here, others for a lifetime. But no matter what the period of time, in the end, we're just passing through each other's lives. I want to thank all of you associated with this great high school who have allowed me to pass through your lives. I hope you thought it was a happy trip, because I am so happy that you passed through mine. God bless White Plains High School. God bless the Tigers. All my former runners, please stand up. See a couple of you with those workouts, you're having trouble standing up. My team now, please. And of course, the parents. Thank you, parents. It's been a 47-year run here at White Plains High School. I think I still got a little bit left in the tank. Tank is getting empty though, guys. And the price of gas, you know what that means. I really love being here. It's been one of the highlights of my life, considering that I am the coach of so many great people and I get to work with so many great others. Thank you so much.
As we wrap up, I just want to conclude the evening with a note of advice from, actually from one of the great New York Yankees philosophers, to all our honorees tonight, parents, family, friends. As Yogi Berra once said, thank you all for making this evening so necessary. Enjoy the upcoming holidays.